following may be based on fact, fiction, science, or otherwise. We present that which is researched and that which is believed to be accurate and true. Professor Truth, guests, and associates may not agree on all viewpoints expressed, implied, or misunderstood by the reader or listener from the content communicated in any format. The information presented is for educational and philosophical purposes only, based solely on the spiritual precepts of the King James Bible as elucidated by the original language word studies and the anointing of the Holy Spirit of Jesus Christ, Father God in the flesh. Isaiah 9:6. The SCET Chronicles will go where no one has gone before. Due to the extreme nature of the content presented, it is important to pray before watching or listening to this series as we deal with the supernatural reality and warfare that comes against mankind. As with all of the shows which Professor Truth produces, the SCET Chronicles' purpose is to expose the reality of the nefarious war ongoing for the born-from-above souls of our Creator, Jesus Christ. We really do live in a matrix designed to blind the minds to the spiritual battle raging with diversions and distractions. Seek God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and have no other gods before Him. Pray the blood of Jesus Christ as your covering and the Holy Spirit as your guide. Finally, put on the full armor of God as described in Ephesians chapter 6. And by the blood of Jesus Christ, we pray. So be it.
Its staff, management, or other sponsors.
Lieutenant Colonel SC.
Yes.
Hey, this is Daniel out of the Edge Broadcast.
How are you doing, Daniel?
Hey, pretty good. You ready to go about it right now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, welcome to the broadcast, Lieutenant Colonel SC. We've had you on a couple times, as somebody pointed out in our live chat, and every time you come on, you bring extremely valuable information to the broadcast, and tonight, I know you have some breaking news as well. But Greg Gringish, of course, is your name. I'll refer to you as Lieutenant Colonel SC.
Yeah, my name is Greg Renchich.
Okay.
It's hard to say, so that my name tag actually did say Lieutenant Colonel SC on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we're not near the end. We're at the end now. You will feel the changes in the squeeze any day. The economy's already squeezing you. Mm-hmm. The devil's going to have his squeeze, and we will lose. But we win the war. We're going to lose this battle because he does allow the devil to crush us.
Okay.
But we'll win the war. Mm-hmm. But there will be survivors, a remnant of survivors. And when I would be in combat, I had monkey fur, that Velcro on my arms so that I could put sergeant stripes on there, and I left my leaves behind so that if I got captured, they wouldn't know I was an officer.
Ooh, okay. Now, Greg, Lieutenant, how long were you in the military?
Altogether, about 13 years, and I'm still active with the CIA. Very active.
Okay, so did the CIA recruit you? And if so, why?
It was kind of one of those things where I already knew too much. Mm-hmm. And even if I wasn't getting paid, they download every month. They've been doing it every month. They might start every 2 weeks. They hack into my computer, and I let them.
Really?
Take them about an hour, and they take all my files.
Wow.
And they got a computer that runs through and looks for keywords.
Really?
And it knows if I told a lie or a leak.
Have you ever figured a way when they log onto your computer that perhaps you could send a virus back at them, crash their computer?
Yeah, but that wouldn't be very good for me because they let me in on information. Mm-hmm. I've got a lot of guys in there. I'm never going to mention their names. I wouldn't mention names if you put a gun to my head.
Okay.
And I've had that done before. Believe me, I've had my gun to my head. And I didn't say nothing. Mm-hmm. Because to me, when you're in a position like that, squeeze the trigger, because that's the better part of the deal. Because if they're playing games with you, you better believe they're going to be doing it for about 2 years. So I would just rather go out now.
Now, do you have black helicopters fly over your house?
Yes, all the time. Mm-hmm. We watched my sergeant that was in war with me in Turkey. He was in Black Ops with me here today.
Okay, excellent.
He's staying at my house for a while.
Okay.
And we watched the Black Hawks helicopters going in between the mountains at tree level trying to stay hid.
Mm-hmm.
But one came today and fired at me.
Wow. What
they were warning shots.
Okay, what did they use? What
Tracers.
Tracer bullets?
30-06.
30-06. Wow.
And then they put they didn't land. I don't know if some of you guys, and I don't know how it works, but they got this mode called Whisper, and you can't even hear the thing running barely.
Yep.
But it's off the ground, just barely.
Sound like a stealth.
And
Sound like
this
stealth
major
mode.
came up, and he told me, he said, "We were sent to put you out, but I'm not going to do that."
Does that put you out to pasture?
6 feet under.
Wow.
They were sent to take me out.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
I was told to take at least 3 tries, and you eluded them, and I did elude them. Believe me, any combat soldier out there, some of them might, if there's any out there, call in and tell him how you can see a bullet come at you. Usually, if you see it, it's too late. But from a distance, you can dodge them, but you can feel it where they're going to hit. I'm telling you, and my sergeant's here. He'll tell you when you got your back turned, you know when there's a gun pointed at you. I don't care if it's a mile away. So those 3 bullets, I did elude them, and they hit the bank. But they never had intentions, I don't think, because a major came out and he says, after the 3rd try, after tonight's show, probably, they told me, after you go on the show tonight, it'll be all over with, because the breaking news that I'm about, this is the most important show I've ever done. What I'm about to tell y'all is going to blow your mind, because you haven't heard a thing about it. I would say 99% of the people listening tonight have not heard what I'm about to say. I don't have nowhere to vent. So when I look in the mirror, I have to vent on my own self, and I get nowhere. So, Daniel, I'd also like to thank you, because this is where I get to vent. And my best friend, Paul, who just had surgery, everybody pray for him. He's my best friend. He lets me vent. But I made a mistake, and I let out some information on the computer the other day by accident. It was a conversation between me and another person. Nobody else was involved but me. Okay? And that's what they're mad about, because I came up with a date of an event that we'll talk about later, and I swear to you, I just came off the top of my head with that date and time, and the event unfolded at the exact minute of that date and time.
Okay. Lieutenant Colonel, is you say your sergeant is there with you?
Yeah, he's here.
Does he want to say?
And by the way, he's a true Israelite.
Does he want to say hello?
Yeah, sure. Sergeant, come here. Could you please? Daniel, I want you to say hello to them. Will you do that for me, Sergeant? To the listeners who wants to speak to me. All right?
Daniel.
Hello.
Sergeant Rosenberg.
Hello, Sergeant. How are you doing this evening?
I'm okay. How about yourself?
All right, very good, very good. As you know, we're interviewing Greg tonight, and so there are you there for support for him, or?
It's a fluke, really. But it turns out, that I do support him. But we met in combat years ago, and we're in business together now, and I'm staying with him now. We're in business, and but for support as well. There's a lot of things going on right now that there's a lot going on right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm here.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much. I just want to say hello to you.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank your listeners, and they're in for quite a ride tonight.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Thank you, Sergeant. He is one of the best combat soldiers I had. If I ordered him even now to take somebody out because I was being threatened, he would never ask me why, when, or where. He would just do it.
Okay, let me get to...
I would do the same for him.
Okay, excellent. All right, let me get to a question here. Were you in any way involved with 9/11?
No.
Okay.
But I will say this.
Okay.
I do know somebody, personally, who said this. Colonel, you're a sharp man, so I want you to do the math on what I'm about to say. This was a Marine. I am around the President every day, and I was there when he gave the order on 9/11. I said, what do you mean? He said it again. He goes, I'm just saying I was there when he gave the order. Do the math. That's what I was told.
Wow.
And so this guy, he was around the President every day. Every day. Every moment of the day. They were on a first-name basis when nobody was around.
Okay.
And so that's very... And as a matter of fact, Captain May knows him. I don't know if he has ghost... I don't know if you ever knew him, but a guy named Captain May had ghost troops.
No.
And it was a real important group, but I was wanting to call and talk to him. I haven't been able to get up with him.
Okay. All right. One more question on 9/11. So basically then, are you saying it was an inside job?
It 100% was. I know that.
Okay.
By people that were inside that are so close to the President. Listen, not only did I know the man that was next to the President, I also knew the man that listened to the bugs in the President's office and deleted things, and I also knew the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth man down from him, including two of the Secret Service agents.
Okay.
And so I got a lot of inside information. And I can tell you this. Let me say this about 9/11. I believe in my heart that all tall buildings are already set for implosion. You know why?
Why's that?
In the event of an attack or something, so that they don't tip sideways. So I know a lot of people think it's conspiracy. I personally haven't been told that. But my reason tells me that all tall buildings like that, if it fell over, it would be a worse disaster. So if something's going to hit it, you should implode it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think?
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. There's no way they could have put the fire out of the Twin Towers ever. I mean, they would have just burned forever. And I think somebody decided, as was known from Building 7, that when that was the only audible that we ever heard was when they said they decided to pull it. I'm
when
sure
they pulled Silverstein's building.
Well, they also decided to pull the Twin Towers as well.
Anything I heard in New York City over 10 stories, I believe, some of them even 6, if they're long, can be pulled.
Okay.
And I own a welding company.
Okay.
And it grosses probably, this year will probably gross about $10 million.
Okay.
And that's not what, I'm not saying that's what I make.
Okay.
It's gross.
All right.
But when I said that, to say this, there's no way that, hold on. Yeah, here. There's no way that steel would melt. Not even with that canister that was under it. That was a napalm they used underneath the airplane to use as a match to make sure that all the fuel was consumed. You know why? Because the fuel wasn't, or the impact isn't what kills people in an airplane crash. It's the hydraulic fluid. And hydraulic fluid can burn hot enough to melt steel.
Okay.
That fuel or that hydraulic fluid was vaporized so quick that and I'm telling you now, it is impossible for that to have collapsed from heat because it would have took about 9,500 to 11,500 degrees to do it, and it only got to 2,700.
Okay. All right, Lieutenant Colonel. Just a quick question. I asked you if black helicopters were flying over your house. You said yes. And somebody asked the question: are humans flying the black helicopters? Yes,
they're regular humans, but I have a black ops base that is. I'm looking at it now. There's an underground. It's the underground entrance is on the other side. I've been there, And we watched the other day, my sergeant, for the first time, we thought that we'd seen a falling star coming, you know how fast they are?
Mm-hmm.
And it stopped right there and got real bright and went down. I had watched triangle trap go down in there and everything else. And I could shoot a 300 Win Mag and hit that mountain.
What do you think about this supposed massive meteor that was caught on film that lit up the sky? And why is it that thing? I don't know. Have you seen that? Have you seen the tape of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, where is it? I mean, something that big, you would think they would find that.
All I know is that I was told that it must be really highly classified because I can't name who told me, and it wasn't one of my friends. It was a connection. It's deep. And I only talk to this guy maybe twice a year. And he calls me. I'm not allowed to call him. And he's with the National Security Agency. Mm-hmm. He's number one in the most powerful NSA agent in the United States, and he's number 2 in the world over the NSA.
Okay.
And he said this: there was a meteor storm on Planet X, which means now we know there's an atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But here's what happened. The meteors didn't burn up before the light went out. So is it a black hole that is sucked in so many planets that has atmosphere? I don't know.
All right.
That's just reason.
Okay. We have this question from Massachusetts, Lieutenant Colonel. Why are they building the underground bases, and is somebody getting ready to escape to them?
They're building the underground bases because they're racing ahead with the agenda faster now. This show tonight is going to perplex them. Number 1, it's going to make me safer. Number 2, it's going to make them madder. And number 3, they're going to move ahead quicker. They use these underground bases for many things. A lot of people think it's just for, the UFOs and all this. They do experiments. We have even dug in. They have even dug in. And I don't know if anybody in the audience has ever seen that movie Descent, where those girls go down in the cave. Mm. Those monsters, if you look at them, go on YouTube. I can't remember where, but they show a real one, and it looks just like them that they ran into. There are things under there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're demons or just. They look human. They have real red lips and red eyes and sharp teeth. They look just like them things on there.
Yeah.
Did you see the movie?
Yeah, I saw Descent with the women.
Yeah, I talked to somebody in Hollywood a few years ago, and I won't mention his name. But he's famous. He's not famous as Steven Spielberg or anything. He's famous enough. You know who he was. Mm-hmm. He told me that any of those movies that you watched, bar none, he said, bar none, were not dreamed up. They have happened somewhere. Okay. Because an ordinary man that has never seen anything couldn't even dream that kind of evil. You have to have seen it to do it.
Okay, we have this question for you. Is there an alternative purpose to the Super Hadron Collider?
No.
Okay, they're just shooting molecules around for no good reason.
Well, they're trying to create a Big Bang.
Yeah.
And here's the problem.
Yeah.
I know because of the Bible that's not going to happen, but if there was no God and there was no Bible, those are the same scientists that when they set off the hydrogen bomb, they thought it might not stop splitting the atoms and consume the whole world. But guess what? They blew it up anyway. So they're trying to create a Big Bang theory. Well, what if I know it's not true that creation is true, but if the Big Bang theory was true and they did that, how do they know that the Big Bang wasn't just two little tiny pebbles that hit each other? They don't know that.
No.
And they have created it. They did it. Yeah. They have created a black hole. Mm-hmm. They did create a black hole. And from what I heard, it sucked in half the pipeline. Why it stopped, I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's just rumor. But remember, some of the rumors that I have are so credible, I wouldn't even mention them if I even had a hint that they were even off a little bit. I'm not going to talk about anything that's off even a little tonight.
Okay. All right, we
It's
have
got to be 100% or I'm not saying it.
Okay, excellent. All right, got a question here for you, again from the live chat, and that is, do you know of what is under the Denver airport? Is there, now, a lot of people say there's a base underneath there. Have you been there?
There is a base underneath there.
Have you been there?
Been there,
Okay.
but I've seen the map of it. There's also a base underneath my house.
Really? And so,
Yeah, I just found out. You know how I found out?
How's that?
A boy that couldn't speak English, 5 years old, can't speak a word of English, told his father about it. And me and his father's friends and his father called me up and said, listen to this, and he spoke perfect English and told me that I was a good colonel. But there was evil monsters deep underground directly under my house.
Wow.
That's because...
Well,
okay,
they're not zombies, are they?
Yeah, this is what proves it. My neighbors get 3/4 of a gallon a minute in their wells. I get 60 because I've hit their line.
Wow.
And we noticed that the dirt that came up, I've got some of it in a glass thing. I still got the rest of the dirt. I'll never finish panning it out, but it's gold all in it. And the place that I live is called Golden Valley because the biggest gold strike ever was right here.
Okay, let me get on to a couple more questions for you quickly. Now, could that be considered, say, like in the Book of Revelation, that smoke come from the abyss? And do you think this is the one? And you think something's going to come flying out of there besides soot and ash?
It could, but I'll tell you this, and I never will mention name, and this is 100% credible. I actually, for the first time, I've had the number for years, called an Illuminati member, one of the 13 bloodline families.
Really?
Yep. He thinks that they missed him by a gene or two when they engineered these families because he believes in Christ and he has repentance in his heart. And I called him. I've always had his number. They have his son kidnapped, and they play games. Now, the games are going to end pretty soon. And he told me so much today. I know so much more about evil. Okay. Here's what I know. There's pure holiness, which is God, in its purest form. We have never seen pure evil, because there's a pure evil just like there's a pure holiness. Pure evil, I believe, he said he believes, that the fires of hell are to keep the soul awake, because the fear of pure evil would make even a soul pass out.
Wow.
And he told me so much about the Illuminati and their games that I almost felt like a member. And I said, why are you telling me this? Because he said, I need a favor from you. You're the top sniper in the world, and I'm older than you, and I can tell you every mission that you've been on and every person you killed, tell you how many you killed. If you ever want to know what you did, call me. I've got your records. I know all about you. Because when I called him, he answered the phone and he didn't say hello. He said, Lieutenant Colonel SC Greg Renchich calling about you and your friend worried about being shot at because you were fired by 3 tracer bullets out of a Black Hawk.
Wow.
And he was in the Netherlands.
Okay.
So
okay, well, I'll tell you what. If you're getting fired at, you ought to just fire back. I mean,
well, I can't. That's the worst thing. One thing you don't do is taunt the devil.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I've been in churches where I'm going to step on his head and we're going to do this and that.
Yeah.
Michael didn't taunt the devil. And if you taunt the devil, you better be ready for warfare and you better be ready to die, because he's coming. He doesn't take the taunting. That's an open door. You might as well just play with a Ouija board.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there are some churches out there, they dance around snakes and stuff, and I heard them,
But you know what?
Yeah.
I believe that we don't have more power than the devil. No way, because Michael the Archangel didn't even dare raise an accusation against him over Moses' body. But we have authority over the devil. We are the police. Just similar to in the old days when they'd say stop in the name of the law and you had to stop. That's what the demons have to do.
Yep.
But know this, the only reason that they're not crushing you is because you have the gun.
Okay.
This is the Bible and the sword of the Spirit.
Okay.
And all hell is fixing to break loose. Any day. All hell is breaking loose because they're here.
Now, is that got
They've
any,
landed.
Lieutenant Colonel? Is that got anything to do with the rash of earthquakes that seem to be going around the world right now?
Well, that's just the prophecy unfolding. I think, you know what I think? You know, just like all the oil and the coal mines that exploded, I knew everybody, every single one of those people I knew that were in that coal mine. I went to school there. Yeah. Marshburg.
Do you think that HARP is in any way?
No, I think that we have so many. I mean, you suck up all the earth stuff, oil and everything, it leaves voids. All these voids in the earth are causing things to shift. I think it's a natural occurrence, but it's a fulfillment of prophecy because God knew that man would abuse what he had. You know as well as I do, you know 100%, Daniel, that there's 0-point energy. So do I. What about that man that dropped the pill in the water and ran the motor, and when he left that room, they never seen him again?
Well, they just want to stop.
Well,
that.
I know a guy who writes me 10 times a day. I've never met him, and he calls me from Canada sometimes, who has created it. And he's coming here. He's not going to tell me the date because he doesn't want nobody following him, but he's going to show me 0-point energy and how easy. And I always wondered why you couldn't a generator you get it started, and if it had power to run everything inside of a building, why couldn't it run power to another generator and create its own energy? You tell me that.
Okay, well, speaking of questions, we have this here from the Fast Blast from Ohio. Are chemtrails used for a real-time motion grid for society? I mean, sometimes it looks like
you better believe it.
Yeah.
You better believe it. I actually they know how to cloak now. Me and my wife watched a UFO the other day. I haven't, other than, Area 51 and what I see here, I don't go outside, and I live in the middle of nowhere where you can see the galaxy. It's so dark.
Okay.
That's how deep in the woods I live. You have to drive over a mile deep through the mountains on a gravel dirt road to get to my house.
Excellent. Sounds like you've got a little bit of safety net there built up for you.
Yeah, and I've got a place on my house where I can see you 2,000 yards away, and if I can see something with the naked eye the size of a human, I can tag it.
Lieutenant Colonel, have you been abducted?
Yes.
Okay. Did they perform hideous experiments on you?
No.
Did you bust? Did you pop one in the face?
They couldn't put me to sleep. They could not sedate me, and I actually watched them get angry because they were told not to pick me up, and I seen my wife there, and I told them that I was going to use the name, and I didn't say it. I said I'm going to use the name that destroys you if you don't let us all go, and they let us all go.
Yeah.
But they were mad because they were perplexed. What they do is, everybody has their theory, but I'm the only one that I know that was awake and watched them do it and got abducted awake. Now, I might be wrong about that, but I was awake. When I was there.
You never thought, Greg, did you ever think about cold cocking one of these aliens?
No. I will say this. They're aliens, they're demons. I'm not going to cold cock a demon. All I got to do is use the name.
Well, give it a try, man.
Yeah, I know it. But, I'm in a position, listen, my whole life, Daniel, has been nothing but war and trauma.
Yep.
I get no peace ever. Never do I have peace. And we have the HARP antennas here. And here a couple weeks ago, they did an experiment in Florida when the Pokemon show came on.
Okay.
And they tuned into 11,000 TVs, HARP did, and all 11,000 children had a seizure when they turned the frequency up.
Really?
100, yeah. They now can cause a heart attack, seizure, death, stroke, and it's frequencies. And I learned from Paul who is probably the most leading person. I believe that he knows more about DNA than anybody on the face of the earth. I truly believe it.
Okay.
And there's frequencies, noise frequencies I'm talking about,
All right.
that raise your DNA levels up
Mm-hmm.
with music. There's music in heaven. They talk about it, the singing in heaven. But heavy metal music, when I listen to it, I listened to some the other night from Ronnie James Dio just to check it out.
All right.
And I'll be daggone if I didn't, seriously, I felt like I wanted to go out and party and smoke weed and get drunk.
Yep.
It just gave me that feeling,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But then when you hear the other frequencies, it doesn't bring you down. It gives you joy with sorrow. In other words, repentance is a gift. You can't repent if God doesn't let you. So it brings on repentance, and it also raises your DNA levels up, which raises your joy and raises the power level that you have against your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said in one of your other shows, people better know their enemy, because I'm telling you right now, you're going to hear later in the show, they're here right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. We are now faced with what they call the Annunaki, and I'll tell you about them later, but the Annunaki were the ones that were so evil that God had to tie them up in front of them.
Yeah. Somebody pointed out that, of course, I said earlier that I'm broadcasting from a deep underground military base myself at an undisclosed location, facetiously, but somebody pointed out that I think maybe in the book of Revelations it says that in the end times the godless would seek refuge under the rocks, and perhaps
in the rocks they would beg the rocks to fall on.
Right. Well, perhaps though God's getting the last laugh because they're called dumbs, and so if all these godless demon reptilians are going into these dumbs, well, they're going to be pretty dumb because God's going to cause those to collapse on them anyway.
No, the reptilians, you got to remember, they're spirit beings. They know, and James Casvalt and me talked. Me and James Casvalt were good friends. And you know as well as I do what happened there.
Yeah, we tried to get him on the show,
too. We don't have to talk about that. We just know pretty, I know.
Yeah.
But he told me that, and I didn't know, I've seen it happen. The reason that those ones survived at Area 51 during that explosion I talked to you about is because they know 6 minutes ahead of time when impending disaster is going to come that could destroy them. Now, they dematerialize just like sand, or they turn into powder or whatever, or spirit.
Okay.
But it takes everything out of them, and it takes them days to recuperate from it. But they can survive almost anything. So they're spirit beings. So if you catch them in this realm and they want to play games in the physical and you fire a gun at them, you're going to kill them. We have shot down UFOs where they haven't cloaked fast enough. Once they're cloaked, even if you know they're there, it doesn't do no good. They're spirits. You can't kill a soul.
Does our military have a device to uncloak them?
No. But I'll tell you what, you can see.
Okay.
If it's ice cold, when you watch a thunderstorm, you notice that some of the clouds almost reach the triosphere where it froze. We see a little rainbow on top of the thunderstorm. You like the clouds, different colors.
Right.
That's because they're so high up. Well, in the clouds, when it's cold, and in Russia especially, when they cloak, you can still see them because their form is in the clouds. You can see them. Infrared can see them.
When you say
but it works best on ice cold days that are below freezing and even zero or better. You can really see them. I guarantee you that if you go to Alaska when it's below zero and take on a clear day and take an expensive high definition camera or infrared and take a shot at the sky, you'll pick up a UFO every single time you shoot it. Every time.
Excellent. When you said they turn into dust, it kind of reminded me of the movie The Mummy. See, every time they bash a mummy, he would just...
Yeah, that's how... I'm glad you said it. That's a good way to put it, because that's how they did it.
Okay.
But James told me that it took everything out of them, and it took them a long time to recuperate. Because I remember I told you when they came out, they shook the dust off, and they were in reptilian form, which means they couldn't take on human form when they got it. Remember I told you the Jeep came and got them.
A question for you, though, Lieutenant Colonel. Since how they sort of turn into dust or sand, would that mean that they are a silicone-based life form?
No, I believe the reason they do that is because that's complete protection. Now, I don't know. I'm not in the spirit world. I don't know what goes on in there. I can only imagine. I only know what Paul said in the Bible, is that in the second heaven there was great spiritual warfare such as never been seen. So I don't, I mean, how do you have war with spirits that you can't kill each other? They can't die.
Do you think a orgone blaster would do it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's nothing that can do it except God. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
I've watched that happen when I wasn't even a Christian.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Leslie, you said you've seen some aliens. Somebody asked a question. Could you describe what they look like?
Sure. They look like a human. They look like a werewolf. They look like a gray. They shape-shift into anything. They can take any form, even the form of furniture.
Furniture?
Yes, sir.
What the
crap? They
can
shape-shift into any form. Any form.
Okay, so
right.
you could be...
Remember the other day you said, is it possible that I could have heard something and it cloaked? Because you heard the gravel pop.
Yeah. So
well, all that is something in the spirit. You heard the gravel pop. I mean, what are they doing driving around in something in the spirit? They're not driving it because they were eventually going to come out somewhere and go ahead and uncloak. Well, I have actually seen a small tree walk off, and a gray, and then a human.
Okay, so are you saying that you could sit down on a couch and you could be sitting on a demon's or an alien's face?
Yes. I'm not saying that happens.
Yeah, but you're saying
that just facetiously, yeah.
Okay.
But they're serious players. They're in this to win, and they are totally convinced that they can be God, and they have no choice but to fight God. And remember, these demonic beings don't have nothing to lose. They're going to hell.
Yeah.
They know this. And I watched a guy one time cast out a demon, and he tried everything. And this guy, it took about 3 days to get the demon to manifest. And the guy roared like a lion. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And when he cast it out, he was reading verses, but when he read the verse about the man that lived in the tombs, it went berserk. When you remind them where they're going, they try not to think about it. They try to think, Hitler knew he was defeated from the very beginning. Did you know that? He knew that he was going to lose in the beginning. He didn't quit when he was supposed to, and so, do you know how we won that war?
No, sir.
2 bombs.
No, but somebody...
One under nut and bolt factory and one under plane parts factory. They were not even able to create nuts and bolts to repair their machines.
Okay. Somebody suggested though if they shapeshift into a couch, that one should probably eat a couple bowls of beans and then sit down. So,
yeah.
I mean, hey, if you can't kill them, just gas them.
They could do it.
Yeah.
I
say gas them.
I've walked. Have you ever walked out in your yard and noticed something you just haven't seen before? Just there, a tree or a log or something. I have.
Okay.
I live in the woods back here, and behind me is about 3,000 acres of no houses, nothing but forest. And so I've seen a lot of things back there that are not human. I didn't think they were alien or demons, but I know that the CIA has this Chupacabra was created by the CIA. They thought they were going to create a super soldier during the Cold War, before the Cold War. Did you know that Patton knew he said that if we don't go in there now, everybody knows this common knowledge that he wanted to go in for Russia.
Right.
but he knew that we would never go to war with them, that this would be a Cold War, and that they would, and I don't know how he knew this because he was a warmonger. He wasn't into physics, but he said they'll use psychological warfare on us and they'll create beings that super soldiers. Well, the CIA raced ahead with their agenda on the super soldiers, and all these monsters are real that you see chupacabras, that their experiments gone sideways.
Okay, so the chupacabras, they're really not like some sort of wolf creature. They're more like aliens, shapeshifters?
No, they're just creatures that were created, I believe, tried to be created by the mixture. I believe that they have, I don't know this for sure, but I believe that at the end, that that we have, because of the demons, or so-called, people like to be called aliens. I like to call them what they are. They're demons. Okay. And I believe that they have shared knowledge on how to, as long as you got DNA from anything, I don't care how old it is, you can create. So Jurassic Park was a warm-up movie. Now think about it. That is so possible. If they can take DNA that they found in the dirt and create sheep from it, they surely can do that with dinosaurs. All you need is the DNA.
Okay, and here we have this question. Do you know what a timber wolf craft is?
No.
Have you heard of a TR-3B craft?
Yes. It's a triangle craft. People think it's reversed engineering because it has two rudders, two tails on the top that are tilted. Let me just clear the air for everybody, and they can believe it or not. I don't care because I know what the truth is, and I'm 100%. And my friend, you know who I'm talking about, he'll confirm this. We cannot reverse engineer. Get that in your head. It's impossible. Because I know how the anti-gravity works. And how I know, I don't know how I know. But I wrote the calculation down and it was right.
Really?
What that is, it's a negative ball. There is no it's magnetic, and there is no positive charge in it. It's all negative. It's surrounded by metal that's as thin as foil. You could crush the foil and it would unfold, like at Roswell when that guy said he crumbled it and it came back out clean like a mirror.
Right.
Well, that's what it's surrounded with. Well, when you have that kind of polarity, the Earth's full of positive polarities. That right there holds them in the air. The front of them is positive, and they have a for lack of words, because I don't know what to call it, other than a calutron, but it would be, let's just say they know how they shoot something that opens up a cone of nothingness, and let me explain that. When you fire a bullet, the speed of sound is 750. That's 1,150 feet per second. When you see that on these high-speed cameras, do you see the V in front of it? A bullet, when they show a bullet in slow motion, that V that you see?
Right, yep.
What do you think is in behind that V if the air is split open?
A vacuum?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay.
So they fall through it. Well, if you have nothing and you're in space, and let's say space had no gravity and you'd let something go, it immediately would probably go 100,000 miles an hour.
Wow.
And that's how they do it. They open up cones. But most of the time, they move forward real fast, about maybe 100 or 2 yards, and they cloak, which makes it seem like they have went that fast.
Right.
Now, they have to be in their spirit form to do that because anything in the flesh will be flattened.
Right.
I don't care what, and if you had to pressurize a vessel to keep that from happening, the pressure on a vessel like that, I'm not saying it's not impossible.
Right.
It would probably be as powerful as a huge, almost as powerful as a hydrogen bomb. I mean, imagine the pressure to go, and we're not talking about 4 or 5 Gs. We're talking about 100 Gs. When you can go from 0 miles an hour and shoot over, like that one by the Trade Center towers that's real popular, that goes past the helicopter.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That kind of G-force would make a man flat as a pancake and squeeze his guts right out of his mouth.
Wow.
I mean, we have shot monkeys and dogs into space to test G-forces and have seen the results of that, the flattening. Well, if you have enough pressure in there, it won't do that.
Okay.
So I believe they have to be in spirit form, because here's why God says you have to die to your flesh. When you fast, your flesh, I can stop eating anytime I want to.
Okay.
But the minute I say I'm going to fast for God, I swear I start to starve to death right then, because the devil's right there, because he knows you're doing for God.
Mm-hmm.
Once your flesh dies, it takes 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Daniel had a 3-day fast. Once your flesh is dead, it quits, it gives up.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit doesn't need to eat or drink or do anything. It doesn't never sleep. It's
Right.
always awake.
Okay.
So your flesh is dead, and you're very sensitive to the spirit. Well, when you're in the spirit form, God had to have you in the spirit form, because to be in eternity, you have to travel the speed of light, because time stops.
Mm-hmm.
Your flesh can't take that.
Okay.
So God created man in spirit, because God said, what did he say? I am the light. I'm the light.
Mm-hmm.
So he is, in other words, he can't take your, that's why when a person dies, the body doesn't go to heaven, just the soul.
Let me ask you something. I've seen this pop up in the live chat. Have you ever seen a shape-shifting alien zombie?
I'm glad you brought that up about the zombies, because, folks, I know you're going to laugh at me, but they're real.
Really?
Zombies are very real. I just read a CIA report about them, and I'm going to open up about it, because I don't really care, because people are seeing it. In Africa was the first case. It was created by an agency. I don't know which one, whether it was us, who it was. To me, CIA, MI6, they're all in it together, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But they created this disease that these people fall over dead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really dead.
Okay.
And in about 5 minutes, they get back up and they go to eat flesh. And they had an outbreak. And they had some cases in the United States. Now, it was so, and I read that thing over and over, because I couldn't believe it. I said, and they call it the African zombie disease.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I don't know what to think about that. There's got to be a place in the Bible that says that, but think about it. The Annunaki, when they were on the earth, the giants, it said that God had to stop them because they were eating man.
Mm-hmm.
They were consuming all flesh. Well, God, they were already dead in the spirit, right?
Right.
Because they did wrong.
Right.
So they were dead.
They were
but
dead.
They lived, and they went to eat flesh. So there's this disease, they call it the African zombie disease, and they described it in great detail, and it's exactly to the T. I mean, not one hair missing out of it, like the zombie movies you see, is what I see.
Have you ever been attacked by a zombie?
No. I never knew they existed until just recently.
And from your perspective, what's the best way to kill a zombie? I realize he's already dead, but I guess how do you make him stay dead?
Well, from the movies, I take a lot of the movies. James Casvalt knows my greatest fear. My greatest fear, everybody has a fear of something. I always feared werewolf movies when I was a kid. I'm scared to death.
They're out there.
You are down in the underground bases, and you want to become something else in the experiments, you can become a vampire.
Right.
And those are real, not the ones that you see on TV that play vampire. I'm talking about the real deal. And there are werewolves. And he said they insert werewolves, I don't know why, in every major city.
Well, okay, let me ask you something, Lieutenant Colonel S.C. Between a werewolf and a vampire and a zombie in a three-way, who would win?
The werewolf has the most power. And the zombie wasn't brought up then because But the werewolf has the most power, but it's the most painful shape-shifting because it's not done by a demonic being. It's a human being that chooses to do this. And they give these demons give them this power, and it's painful. Where the vampire has less power, but he doesn't have to go through the pain.
So you would go with the werewolf in this case?
No, I wouldn't go with any of them.
Well, I mean, somebody's coming in a three-way.
If the person was doing it just for lack of argument, I would go as a vampire. They say, I mean, just think about it. You know, and he also told me this. James was knowledgeable, and he was put away for telling the things that he told me he knew. And I know that.
Okay.
If it was today, they wouldn't have bothered him. You interviewed him too early.
Yeah, I did?
Yep. Had you have waited another year or so, it would have been all right. It's not your fault.
No, I mean,
James was ready to get. James was perplexed. And he used to call me, and we used to put each other, not in hypnotic, but we used to know how to do regression on each other because we wanted to know if we seen what was real. And he told me that the werewolf in the movie The Howling, the first one, I believe he said it was, at the end where the man turns into a werewolf, was the real thing because they couldn't get it right. And they had a guy that was a werewolf there trying to show them what it was like, and he did it himself at the end.
Well, I was just thinking that there was a movie. I think it was a military movies, and the captain. The guy said, "I'm gonna rip your head off and shit down your neck." So I don't know. That might be a good way to kill him.
I'm just saying. Funny, I've never seen the movie, and I can't. I hope I'm saying the movie right. But they talked to these people that did The Grudge. The Grudge to me was one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. That thing, and it's real. I heard from people that were involved in the making of some of the things in the movie and some documents that I've seen that they were guided by the Satan worshipers on how to make that movie because that was totally real. The Japanese believe it in 100% and have many books of eyewitness testimony of exactly what you've seen in The Grudge. Well, when you see these movies, they happened. All of them, bar none. And I asked James, I said, I mean, really, bar none? He says, I mean, bar none. Now, you got to admit, James was tortured. He was one of the, me and him were pretty close. We were close. Me and James became very close after your show. We contacted each other, and after he heard me, he contacted me, and we became very close. We were calling each other on a regular basis. And he called me one day, 15 minutes after he came out from an underground base where the NSA nabbed him and took him down and did Operation Osiris on him.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, now listen, don't want to miss out here. Right at the beginning of the broadcast, you said you were going to bring some information that's very valuable. Do you know what that is? You ready to do it?
Yes. In Israel, hovering over Jerusalem is approximately 55,000 UFOs. They landed.
Wow.
They made contact. They looked just like Egyptians that you'd see painted with the painted eyes and all. And they showed their wrists. They're the Annunaki. I have a true Israelite sitting next to me. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. They were bound by copper. Copper is there. I have Barnes, if anybody knows anything about bullets, you buy Barnes bullets. They're pure copper. Copper completely weakens them to where you can slap them around. But they lifted up the wrist to show that the copper bands have been taken off because God loosed them. And the first one that came out was 31 foot tall. Now, the things that are over there right now, this is what I'm in trouble for.
Okay.
What I'm telling right now. If I'm going to get shot, it's going to be in the next 15 minutes. And there's planes flying around now. Sergeant's sitting out here next to me looking for me. And I'm actually, for the first time in my life, scared to say something, but I'm going to say it because it's got to be said. they're not telling you. Now, this is how much power they have. That many, and it's happening. I just seen a falling star. It makes me nervous. But that many, and the news hasn't got one leak. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I only know, but somebody in the CIA leaked a film of it, and I'll have to call you, or you call me back later, but I've got a film of all of them hovering over Jerusalem.
Wow. 55,000.
And they're going back and forth to each other, one towards another, one to another, like a party. And they landed, and they made contact, and they said, we're the gods of the underworld, we're the Annunaki, and you will worship us, or we will destroy the world and eat you. And they bow down and worship them. Now, the craft that are hovering there don't look nothing like flying saucers or anything conventional. They look like structures, like buildings. And when I first seen the film, I said, that has to be Nephilim, because they were so high. In other words, there was no flat spots. These things were huge. And Sergeant, you seen them, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
He's seen them, and in other words, they're probably about 100 feet in height, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They have no diameter because there's other buildings. It looks like buildings. In other words, it looks like the Trade Center. It looks like a bunch of buildings flying. And they're so high, but the windows are at the top.
Do they look like pyramids?
No, they just look like different structures. They look like flying houses.
Did you say you have the film?
Yeah, but it's on YouTube.
Okay, so go to YouTube.
And my wife found it. I have to get with her and ask her how she found it. Sarge, will you ask her which? Hold on, Sergeant's telling me now. We put in, didn't we put in the UFOs over Israel and the Annunaki?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Type in the UFOs over Israel, and this was the dates are a lie. Some of them are true, but if it says anything besides between February and now, if the date's different than that, it's a lie. It's now. All of them. 50,000 craft. It looks like a sky full of stars that move around.
Okay. Hang on. So I'm going to give a quick message to Andy, our technical director. Andy, you want to put a link up there, maybe in the live chat, if you can locate these 55,000 craft.
See if we can locate that. And what you'll see, Andy, is a picture that's square, but it's round. Mm-hmm. Where you're looking through, because they evidently were filming it through a telescope.
Okay.
It's round, so look for that, it's very clear what's going on there. Now, you tell me, because as far as I'm concerned, nothing that's done is hidden. God said. Well, I'm telling you something now that I was told that only 25 other officers know. They are coming to get me, they said, at their leisure, because they want to know what the F that they're looking at. And you want to know why they picked me? Because I just, in a conversation that was intercepted, mentioned a date and a time off the top of my head, and it just happened to fall on that time and date. Well,
how did they know that you said that? Because it's on your computer?
Somebody intercepted it. Because they signed it. I got it translated back in English, and it was what was said, but it was signed. It said by a cowardly agent, and it gave me it gave an agent number. At first, I thought it was NSA because of the number sequence, but I now know it was an MS-13 member because it was intercepted in Mexico. It was here. It was intercepted. I'm sorry. And it was sent to somebody in Mexico who was told not to let it loose because I was on there. And ignorance, I think he did it. And he put initials, Lieutenant colonel, lieutenant colonel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't take rocket science to figure out who knows a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to know now I'm in so much trouble because they want to know how I knew the time and date. They think that I'm corresponding with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not. For the record,
let me ask you something.
Not,
Lieutenant Colonel SC, has the Black Ops people fired at the sergeant there that's with you? Are they after him? Or are they after him?
Not today, but me and Sarge have been deep into Black Ops. I'll tell you how we met. He was in Turkey and getting ready to be executed because he was a Jew in a Muslim country. And we had a pact with the Black Ops. And this wasn't regular Army. This was Black Ops. And he was in Black Ops. We were patrolling. And I seen him. And I remember my guys going, Colonel, I know what you're thinking. Please. I was a colonel then. Please. Don't go over there. It's going to happen. I said, no, I'm going over there. He's so proud of being a Jew. I tease him all the time about it. He had on his dog tags Jewish and had the Star of David tattooed on his arm. And he was in Turkey, in combat. So they were going to execute him. They had him on his knees, and they were all mumble-jumbling. And I went over there, and I traded my life for his, and I got on my knees, and it was a long ordeal. To make a long story short, I said, but they put me on my knees, and they put the gun to my head, and I said, before you pull the trigger, can I look at my wife? I didn't have a wife. I just reached in my back pocket and pulled out close to $3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, wasn't it close to 3,000, Sarge? And they were, and Sarge and the rest of the troops, I made them leave. I said, they're going to execute me. Go back to headquarters, give them the coordinates, and tell them to napalm this place until there's nothing left but sand. And tell them to napalm a 10-square-mile area. Kill them all. And when I looked at that money, I said, if you'll let me go, you can have this. Now turn around and look, because there's a .50 caliber pointed at you. There's only 40 rounds in it, but there's only 8 of you. The guy that's behind the gun can't shoot that well. But he can shoot, and we're all going to die. You pull that trigger, we're all going to die. So why don't you take this money and go buy a whore somewhere and cheat on your wife, because they're never going to ask me what you did. And they all looked at each other, and it was about silence for about a space of 10 minutes. It was we were all sweating bullets. Everybody was going to die. It's one shot. And they said, get out of here. When we got in that Jeep, I seen his dog tags. I said, you're either the bravest man in the world that I ever met or the stupidest idiot I ever met. But he ends up being a brave man. This Sarge is stuck by me through thick and thin. It doesn't matter what the conditions are or what we were doing. He was there. It didn't matter. Fearlessly.
Okay, so...
And if you want to fight with a real soldier, you'll fight with the Israelis.
Okay.
Because I've never seen camaraderie like that in my life.
Well, let me ask you something, Lieutenant Colonel SC. These 55,000 objects, I guess you're...
Now that's what I was...
Okay, so are they
vary.
So you're saying they are inhabited with what? Anunnaki?
Giants.
Aliens?
Giants.
Okay,
Nephilim and Annunaki.
Okay, they're inhabited with
now,
giants.
Remember now, is the evilest thing that was ever created.
Okay, and where did they come? Where did they come from?
Who knows? They came from hell.
Okay, are they going to...
God had them tied up.
Do you know if they have a plan to, say, float over any other major...
They have a plan to destroy the earth.
Okay, why is it
they
that...
are setting...
Okay.
Why? Okay, do the math, folks. Okay. Why do you think they're over Jerusalem? The world hates Israel.
Okay.
So if they've got an enemy sitting over Jerusalem, wouldn't it be a great reason to bomb it? And what do you think, the devil? You think he likes Israel?
Okay, so that's why they're hoovering over Israel right now. Why is it the...
No, I think they're protecting it. Has anybody seen on Fox or in the papers? I have. I don't watch TV. I don't have. I have TV. I watch CDs that are.
Well, I'm sure Nancy Pelosi would like to step up in there.
Did you hear something? In the paper, it said, I lost my train of thought. I'm trying to think of it now. But in the paper, it said,
okay,
because this came from the number. I know the most powerful NSA agent in the United States, the number one agent who tells everybody what to do, and even the CIA listens to him.
Okay, and who is
a friend of mine?
Okay.
He calls me in vents.
Okay.
He tells me things.
Mm-hmm.
Some things I can't even speak of.
I mean,
because if I did, they would know it was him.
You're not saying he tells you things in your mind. You say you mean he
no,
literally.
He tells me things. He told me one day. He said, "Did you ever?" He said, "Colonel, do you ever wish you were just another sheep in the field like the rest of the people?
Mm-hmm.
And aren't you sick of knowing all this shit?
Mm.
Doesn't it get to? I mean, it gets to us. I mean, it gets to me so bad. Sergeant told me the last 3 days, I've been up for two. Number one,
mm-hmm.
I've been up for 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
My nerves are shot because they want me to make contact with this Annunaki because they
mm-hmm.
think that I'm conspiring with them, and they're going to make me do it. If you look at the papers, it says that Iran and Russia and China have agreed to reduce their nukes.
Right.
Why? Because Russia and China have the title deed to the United States because that's where we got our money.
Mm-hmm.
And they are coming over here to take 2 years, 24 months. They're going to run the country
mm-hmm.
until Obama is the Antichrist.
Okay. So he came out was Obama born or was he hatched in some underground base?
I don't know. All I know is that now, let me rephrase that. I'm not 100%, but all of us on that list of top-notch people, we're right at 80 and 99%. Between some of them are 80, some of them are 100%, but they say 99 because there's always room for. You always got to leave room for error. There's no such thing as 50-50, maybe or not, because 50 pounds of feathers weighs the same as 50 pounds of bricks on a scale. Mm-hmm. And when you put on a scale, what does it point to if you have the same weight? 0. Mm-hmm. That's the same percentage that you have if it's 50-50. But what hurts worse, 50 pounds of bricks or 50 pounds of feathers?
You
see what I'm saying?
Okay. Is Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Hussein Obama, is he an alien?
He's the Antichrist.
Okay, is there supposed to be?
I believe he's just human and didn't even know it.
Who is doesn't the Antichrist have like a right-hand man, and who is that?
Don't know. I'm sure that I'll find out soon. These guys, you know why I get this information? People say, well, why does he get all this information? Mm-hmm. Because I'm with the first, you were the first show I ever did, Daniel. Since that day, I had been appointed by these guys. They asked me, am I afraid to go ahead and say all what they give? Because if I am, they're not going to give it to me.
Right.
And out of 18 people that they had candidates for, mm-hmm. I was the only one that said, I'm not afraid of nothing. Mm-hmm. Well, I am today. Mm-hmm. Every time, the choppers are flying over, and I think they're messing with our heads, mm-hmm. don't you, Sarge? Mm-hmm. Because it's worrying. Believe me, we go on about our work. We have a welding company. He's a blacksmith.
Okay.
And if you ever want a knife mm-hmm. that's made by an Israeli that will cut and kill mm-hmm. and made to destroy, he makes them. Mm-hmm. And he sells the hound out of them. They're expensive.
Lieutenant,
the army of he okay. Didn't you give them to the Israeli army? It's got some of them, mm-hmm. don't they? The Americans do. Okay. Our army has some of these
Lieutenant Colonel, who told you that Barry Hussein Obama was the Antichrist?
We determined it because everybody's looking for this giant war.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to say 90% I think that they're going to nuke the Gaza Strip, Syria. And that's going to be the end of it, limited. And then they're going to fire back.
Mm-hmm.
Patriot missiles don't do a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the warhead, I've seen that, and everybody else. What they showed you in the Gulf War was a warm-up. That's why they honed in on Scud missiles being hit by the Patriots, because the warhead still fell and exploded. So
Really?
why didn't they just let it fly?
Mm-hmm.
To keep it from hitting Israel.
Now,
but the Antichrist comes in peacefully. So everybody's waiting for this giant war. Well, there is going to be. The whole world's going to be in turmoil.
When you say giant
crashing.
war, when you're saying giant war, you're not saying a multi-nation war. You're saying giants
I'm
in the war.
talking about a world war.
Okay.
Listen, everybody's looking for hell to break loose in a way like World War II.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen that way, folks. He comes in peacefully. It's just going to be chaotic. There is going to be some war, and everybody's going to be in perplexity.
Yeah.
Nobody has a job. Let me tell you this. I know people that's been collecting unemployment now for 2 years. You know why they won't give you, and why they keep giving you extensions? Because the truth of the matter is 67% of the United States is out of work. They're telling you it's 9-10%. That's a flat-out lie.
Right.
So
And
they're afraid that if they cut everybody off, their homes will get taken,
Yep.
and what will happen is they'll have civil war.
Well, there
Because
is
it won't take long.
There is disinformation going out there right now. I think it was, I think I've seen on front of Time or Newsweek, it said America has come back, the recession is over, and then then the news reported 455,000 people were out of work, and there's a huge spike. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, somebody's trying to make us think that the economy is back, when in fact it may be exactly what you have said, that it is already collapsed, and
it has
we don't
already
even know it.
collapsed. Here's where you need to be. In the steel business, gold and silver, and if you don't own your own business, you're not going to have a job. In my county, there are 0 jobs. There is a waiting line. I think the guy at McDonald's told me it was almost 3 years deep before you could get a job at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
There is not one manufacturing company here open, and all the ones that we thought were strong closed. And you know who's the strongest company, and one of the strongest companies here? Me. Believe it or not.
Okay.
You know why?
What's that?
Me and Sarge bought our stuff, lock, stock, and barrel. We paid cash for it, and we created jobs, because the rich will always spend money to make them feel good. And if you don't charge them enough, they won't buy from you. And that's the way it is, because it makes them feel better. They'll always have money, but it's no fun to have a lot of money when you're surrounded by the poor. So what they have to do is they've got to get rid of the poor and create ghettos, like they did in the Holocaust. They created ghettos, and then now everybody knows who's who, right?
That sounds...
That's the way you know who's who. You know who's rich and who's poor. And then they take these counties where everybody lived, they repossess their homes, bulldoze them over, and the rich buy them. Well, I know that's fixing to happen, and when it does, there's going to be civil war, because 67% unemployment rate is where we're at. This county has no jobs. There is no jobs where I live. You couldn't get a job changing a light bulb if you only charged a nickel. To work all day, you couldn't get a job here.
Okay. Hey, we got...
They want everybody sitting on their flat rear ends, comfortable, believing in the lie of the rapture, so that you'll go all the way to the guillotine, looking up saying, it's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen.
Now, Lieutenant Colonel Leslie, do you believe in the rapture?
No. I believe there's a rapture after the tribulation. It is 100% not going to happen before the tribulation, because in Matthew 24 it says, and after the great tribulation of those days, then shall the Son of Man come in clouds with power and great glory, and then I will gather together my elect. The rapture theory came from a Catholic girl in 1856 who had a dream that everybody was raptured.
Right.
And her father knew Albert Pike, and they were in the Masons, and he was the Grand Master, and he told them to insert it into the church and create the rapture theory. That way we could take prisoners and take over the country without much resistance.
Now, speaking of Catholics, why is it the Catholic priests are after the kids?
Because Catholics, and I'm going to offend a lot of people, if you're Catholic, you're going to go to hell in a handbasket.
Whoa.
And I mean that with all my heart. Because there's not a thing in the Bible. The Bible clearly says, nobody gets to the Father but by me. Mary is never mentioned as being any kind of entity or God or anything else but the mother that born Jesus Christ.
Yep.
That's all she did, and she was human, and she died, and she's dead in heaven. That's it.
Right.
She's not a deity. She was Christ's mother. You know why? Christ looked at her on the cross and said, Mother, behold your son. You know why? Because if she was deity, she would have been happy, but she was on her knees crying so hard she couldn't stop.
And besides that, I was just wondering how many kids are underneath the Pope's robe there,
That's right.
traveling around with him.
That's what I'm talking about. Folks, it's not just the Catholic. Their belief is wrong, but the church, in Revelation 18, I can break this down so much for you. I need another show to do it. I need to explain to you what Benjamin Baruch showed me about the weeks of years. But in the Revelation 18, it says, I heard another angel say, come out of her, my people, or you'll be destroyed by her plagues and all that. Well, if there was a rapture, what happened in Rwanda? I was there 13 months. I was there 13 months with a Canadian general. I can't remember his name, but he wrote a book called Shaking Hands with the Devil. And I've seen that guy, and I remember telling him, General, sir, I think that we have just seen the devil. That was the most wickedest person to this day that I have ever seen.
Wow.
I have never seen anything like that in the underground bases anywhere. That was the wickedest. They didn't use guns. And what happened was we were stopped in a convoy, and the general, I don't know how he took it, God bless him, but he said, will you go out, I think I was a major then, would you go out, Major, and see what's going on? I don't want to go out no more. And the stench was terrible. And I didn't get to the front, and I think it was a staff sergeant came running to me, and Sergeant Major, and says, whoa, sir, you don't want to go past here. You'll be traumatized, because I don't know how I'm holding myself together. I said, what's the matter? We have to wait for a couple hours till the bulldozers come push the bodies off the road, because there's nothing but bodies for 18 miles on this stretch of road, and nobody has a head.
Wow. Hey, now, go ahead.
That right there changed my life. I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say, but I do want to say this. If you're sitting in a chair and you see genocide like that, and you say, my God, how can we let that happen? Turn the channel and get you a sandwich and sit back down and turn the channel. You killed 5 yourself. You're just as guilty yourself. You should stand up and say something about it. There's genocide. I got a call from a professor in Mexico, right off the Southern California border. They are killing people, genocide over there right now. Right now.
And how did you know there was? How did you know there was 18 miles of dead bodies? I mean, how do you know it wasn't 17 miles?
They told us that because they had a guy in the front. There was a helicopter leading the convoy, so that they wouldn't have another Black Hawk down. You wouldn't have a situation.
By the way, Paul Jameson from Australia, he wants to say hello to you tonight.
Oh, Paul. Okay, yeah. I think did Paul write me? Ask him. Did he write me?
He did. He said he just wanted a shout out to you.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear from you, Paul. write me, and I'll give you my other email address where I got my contacts at.
Okay.
Let me tell you what, I have 22 email addresses, and I have to cancel them all because they have almost 1 million on every one of them.
All right, we have this question from Rod in Florida. He says, you told Dana from Warren Radio that you were going to be taken underground and have a live interview with an alien. Did that ever happen?
I backed out of it.
You backed out of the interview with the
alien? Yeah, I got
alien?
advice from Paul and some of my other friends.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, I didn't think it was a trap, but we have no business doing that. I know what they are. I don't need to interview him. You interview him.
And then we have this question from the live chat. Will this Pope finish his term? Is something going to happen to the current Pope?
I don't know.
Or, as they say, poop on the Pope. Is the Pope a shape shifter? It looks like a lot of Pope questions tonight.
I don't know about that either. I do know that the Pope, I don't know, Pope John Paul, the third, I think it was, I've got pictures of him sitting in the chair with an upside-down cross in the back of it.
Okay, well,
and there's and in the Vatican, there's upside-down crosses all around it. I'm telling y'all, if you're in the Catholic Church, you better get out.
Okay.
And that's a warning from God. Get out because you're worshiping something. You don't go out and live like the devil all week and get forgiven by a man.
Hey, here's a question from West Virginia. Is there a place that people can go to verify the existence of zombies?
I don't know. I see. What I don't really have to check things. Y'all have to understand that I was chosen to be a spokesman for all this. I really was.
And you were chosen by...
First time Daniel knows this.
Okay.
I'm just telling you.
Right.
That today I talked to an Illuminati member, a bloodline member. I called his cell phone. I've had it for years.
Okay.
And I told you that earlier. Now, who gets that? I am very privileged to be alive, even. You know what I'm saying? And so, if you pray to God and He reveals to you what your destiny is, you're immortal until you pull it off.
Wow. Because you can't die until your destiny is fulfilled.
You can't die until God has something to do. He'll reveal it to you. Well, guess what? That's where you get your preachers that walk through hails of bullets and your soldiers that walk through, tracers going everywhere, and they just walk right through it because they know that's not their destiny. They just walk right through. And that's where the fear. The devil, see, like when Peter was walking on top of the water, he was fine as long as the water was still. But when the water white tapped, he lost his face.
Right.
Well, what that was, his representation is Christ was, come on out here. Your destiny is to walk over to me. And he looked at what the world had to offer.
Right. So he could not have drowned because his destiny was to meet Jesus out on the water. Hey, we got this question for you out of the live chat. The winged disc, is that a symbol of the Annunaki?
Yes. I'm telling you, folks, I'm not a liar. And I don't care. I've been called things. I know on the internet there's things about me. Doesn't bother me a bit. And those of you who are listening, you can turn it off. It doesn't bother me what you call me cracky. I don't care what you say. I really don't. You're talking to the wrong man if you think I care. Because I know the information that I get is true. And Paul knows something about me that nobody else does, and I'm not going to reveal it. But it was quite a claim to know what I know, because let's just put it this way. I got it straight from the Creator.
Okay.
Face to face.
You saw God face to face? What did He look like?
Yes, I did. And that's all I want to talk about. God, I really don't. It's just too controversial. And
you mean wait a minute? Are you saying what God looks like is too controversial?
No, the fact that He visited me on several occasions, and the first time I didn't even know it was Him.
Okay.
He was in the woods, and he was in jeans, tennis shoes, and everything. I thought it was just a regular guy. And that should have been unusual in itself, but I was angry doing something. And he said, "Want me to help you?" And I go, "Yeah." And then probably 20 minutes into the deal, it was revealed to me. All of a sudden, I knew who it was.
Okay, so you saw God in the wilderness, and he's wearing blue jeans and tennis shoes.
He just came out of nowhere, just like a man.
And what did he tell you?
A lot of things. A lot of things.
Did he tell you when the world's going to end?
No. You know where it says no man knows the day nor the hour, not even the sun?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. But I'm convinced that 1 week
Oh, wait a minute now. Whoa. There's another part to that verse, though. It says, no man knoweth the day or the hour, but the Son of Man. But it says, yet we have the mind of Christ. So it sounds to me,
right.
So if you have the mind of Christ, would you not know?
The key is in Noah and all those others. 1 week before the destruction of anything he did, Lot, everybody, 1 week, he told Noah to get in the ark.
Okay.
1 week. He told Lot I was going to destroy it.
Did
everything was a week.
When you
week
saw
before he comes, you'll know it.
Okay. Okay. Good. Or a week before week before it happens, we'll know it. And I'm glad to hear that warning. Did God materialize in the forest, or was he walking around when you saw him? Did you see him materialize?
No, he just came.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. And the next question is, how do you know it was God?
Yeah.
Because you just do.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what. Here's a test, and sometimes I fail it. I get, believe me, I'm just human, just like anybody else. I get scared, and I fail. I blow it every day. I cuss at something, or say something I shouldn't have said, or make a mistake. I'm as wicked as man as anybody else. Mm-hmm. It's just that we've got the throne of grace to go to. Mm-hmm. I've just been chosen for a job that I promise you, it might seem pretty cool, but if anybody wants to trade and God will allow it, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. I'll do it. Mm-hmm. Because the things that I see, if it weren't for the strength of God, my knees get weak and everything when I see some of these things. I want to faint. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes me weeks of not even speaking to my wife. We have trouble sometimes because I won't talk.
Okay. All right. We have this question from Eve. She says that on various shows, you've said that they're getting ready to let the cat out of the bag.
The cat's out of the bag.
Okay. What is the cat?
There's. I mean, I don't know everything. You know, I really don't. And I've seen a lot. Just like I told you. If I haven't seen it, I'm not going to tell you I did. Mm-hmm. But I get a lot of information from people that are, believe me, they're so credible. I don't believe, there's a couple of the guys that me and Sarge know, I don't believe are capable of telling a lie. Mm-hmm. One of them one time cheated on his wife, and he asked God for forgiveness and everything. He said, I was a captain then. He goes, Captain, I don't know what to do. I said, just some things are better left unsaid. Mm-hmm. You repented, God forgave you. Mm-hmm. We walked in the house, and he just right away, right when he hadn't seen her in a year, right when he walked in, I cheated, and blah, blah. And they're divorced.
Okay.
You know, these guys, when they tell me something, I don't say, are you sure? Because I'm telling you, the people that I know are famous, and
all right.
So in other words, you got to be chosen to do this, and I never knew that I was chosen to do this until mm-hmm. Paul got me on with you, mm-hmm. and that's when the agency started coming forward with me, and James even asked me. About one of the NSA agents.
Is James Casvalt still alive?
I'm afraid not. If he is,
well,
I hope he is. But James would not go without.
Well, somebody must be using his email because I contacted him not too long ago.
he would if he was alive, he would not go without contacting me.
Yeah.
Because I'm about the only one that he knows that has been in where he has and seen what he has. So he has nobody else to talk to about it. And I have nobody else to talk to about it. And we became very good friends. He was going to come and live with me for a little while because I'm pretty much in the safe zone. God's not going to let nobody, as far as I know my destiny, and I think it's to announce these things.
Hey, has the military ever used you as a Manchurian candidate to carry out a mission?
Give me an example.
Okay.
And I'll tell you. Give me an example. What you mean?
Okay. Has the military ever programmed you to go, say, assassinate a leader in a country, or
all
Islamic?
I know is I was programmed once. I was told by a 2-star general that I flew an F-4 Phantom and carried out a suicide bombing mission. And I did it with excellence. The bombs landed so precise they even went into the window of where I wanted it to go. And
that's
I don't
pretty precise.
remember it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, you'll be in command of a lot more bombs if you're that accurate. Are you still?
Well, I know how to fly. I do know how to fly a fighter jet. I have trouble landing them, but I do land them, and I can take them off.
Are you still in contact?
F4. It was an F4. I don't know about the F-22s and all these other ones, but I flew. I knew I have had pilots let me fly F4 with them in it.
Are you in any contact with Eugene Colson?
Yes. I get letters. Barry Carmish. I get letters from him too.
Okay.
I'm in contact with everybody that God wants me to be in contact. Did you know about Israel, what I told you today?
No, did not.
They'll tell you, and I know that Daniel is well connected, very well. If that tells you anything. Yeah. I'm not bragging. I'm just trying to find a way to explain how contacted I am.
Okay.
Let's put it this way: they want me to go to Israel and approach this and tell them what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they're looking at.
Okay. Well, let me ask you something. I got this question from the Fast Blast. It says, you said that Paul gave you some stuff when you had cancer and you were healed a couple of weeks. What was the stuff?
MMS.
What was that?
It's called. We call it miracle mineral solution.
Okay, is that something you get off the internet?
It's a highly toxic chemical. It's deadly. But it's got to be diluted down 1 drop and then 5 drops of citric acid.
And where do you get that from?
I don't know. I can get that information. I think everybody needs it.
MMS?
Let me tell you what he did.
Okay.
Paul just got out of the hospital. Okay. He had a ruptured ear.
Okay.
And he had to go on life support. He had to be on a breathing machine. I think I think it was from drowning in blood or something.
Right.
But anyway, where his stitches are and stuff on the outside, he put that MMS on there with something else. I can't remember. He told me today.
Okay.
And his wife the next day says, "It looks like it was never there. It's gone."
Well, no, that's good information.
What it was a man. He's not a Christian, but he created it for a friend of his who had malaria. It has cured. It will cure every disease known to man, including AIDS.
Really?
It will stop it all.
Okay.
And I believe, if I believe correctly, it doesn't matter what stage you're in. I believe I've been cured by it. I've got a lot of it.
Okay.
And yeah, I've got quantity supply, and I'm kind of I use it if I have to. It cures the common cold. It cures. I mean, I just don't. I don't know what it doesn't cure.
Okay.
Maybe nerve gas, even if you've got a dose of it, it might cure it.
Okay.
But it's very toxic. It's deadly if it's not diluted with citric acid. And then you got to let it sit 3 minutes till it turns yellow.
Okay.
And then you put it in a glass of water because it's very hard to drink. It's smells like bleach, and when you drink it, it's nasty. So Paul has figured out a way to get them in capsules so you can swallow them. That really needs to be exposed, and I will do that. I'll talk to him about it and get all the whole scoop on.
Where do you get this MMS?
I don't know.
Secret underground military base.
But I'll find out. He won't be reluctant to tell me. I don't think at all.
All right. Well, when you find out,
as soon as he's listening to us now, so as soon as we hang up, he'll call. Call me up, and or call Dan. He's got your number, Daniel, right?
Yeah.
Call Daniel and tell him where they can get this.
Yeah, you can call right after the
show. Paul, you got to know Paul. He's my best friend. Paul is my best friend. When I needed a quick $139 the other day. I had a lot of money coming in, but when you do contracts, you got to wait till they're done. You get them in draws.
Yeah.
To get some more business cards. Well, he was drowning in his blood. I didn't even know he's sick until I called, and while he was drowning in his blood. Well,
he
listen. Called up and gave the credit card number to the.
Well, listen, Lieutenant Colonel SC. We're getting near the end of the interview. I want to make sure that you've touched on all of the things that you were going to bring onto the program.
We've been talking. I guess it is. It's 10:53.
Yeah. So the main thing was the revelation of the 55,000 UFOs over Israel, and that you're involved with it because they intercepted your communication and they want you to be the guy.
Right. Now, you know what? It's funny. I can't remember how I knew that was happening. But I knew it. And the UFO activity here has picked up tremendously, and the paranormal activity. In other words, it's like a parallel universe is getting ready to go to war. A parallel universe is getting ready to go to war with us? No, it's the spiritual. I think the spirits are going to manifest. They already have. But I believe that the demons that have been hounding us all these years are going to manifest themselves in the flesh. Because there's an event that God talks about that scares man to death. And I believe that's one of them.
Okay, so when's this going to happen?
You want to know the truth?
Yeah, the truth.
Any day.
Any day.
It could be tomorrow. You know that lately, when I get up, the sergeant asked me what I was doing the other day. I go to the front window and I look out to see if we still have another day. That's how close. Because I believe that, here's what I was told by the CIA, that one wrong word, one wrong headache, anything. Every single country that has nuclear arms has them out and aimed and ready to fire. Right now. This is we're in turmoil.
Is Iran going to start?
You just don't know if somebody. In other words, it's like being in a quiet room and everybody having a gun pointed, and a ball will fall off the shelf and everybody shoots.
And you're prepared for that.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about it. Like me and Sergeant go on our business now. He's Jewish, and he is starting to believe the way I do because he sees me pray and I get things done. Because otherwise I'd be told. So I get updated. Listen, my email changes hourly. Okay. That's how much updating I get every hour or half hour. I get.
Okay. So which is going to happen first? These city-sized buildings attacking over Israel, or the war with the parallel universe? Or are they going to happen simultaneously?
No, the Nephilim are. First of all, they're going to expose themselves as here to help us.
Right.
Now, that could happen tomorrow.
Right.
Because they're already exposed. My thing is I want to know, before I go over there, they're going to tell me, and I'll be able to tell you, that they have never, why they don't withhold on me on your show, I have no idea. Because they killed James, but they don't mess with me. They give me warnings, but I do it anyway, and so I don't know how I get away with it, but I will know when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to know is how nobody else knows about this.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. Has Andy found it yet?
Somebody put that up in our live chat, so it was in there.
Okay.
Yeah, we may put a link, once we find it, we may put a link in your bio section there when we upload your audio and video.
Okay, well, that guy was, the person's name that's on there is a lie. It came from the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
That was purposely put up there. That's the only way you're going to find out. Why? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole world would go into pandemonium. Just everybody would go berserk. They wouldn't handle it.
And
like
you know what?
we are.
And I'm really all for that. I'd like to see the world go into chaos. Lieutenant Colonel SC, we're getting real close to the end of the interview.
I
Any
really
final
need
words?
to do another show with you, Danny, because I'm not done. I got so much more to tell that's even deeper than that.
Okay, we need to have you back then.
This was just too quick this time.
I know.
I have some things that you got to know because they're coming around the corner, and I got to get it out fast because you're going to get caught with your pants down if you don't.
Whoa, that's sick. Okay, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to reschedule. Let me look at our schedule, and looks like the live chat people are saying, get him back. So we've got to have you back on the program. Lieutenant Colonel SC, final thought in the next 30 seconds. Go right ahead. Anything you'd like to wrap up?
Well, all I want to say is that you can believe me or not. The bottom line is that when in combat, you study your enemy to see what he's doing before you make your next move. And I suggest you get in the Bible and you quit praying to statues and saints and pray to Jesus Christ, because you can't get to God unless you go to Him. And here I am, a soldier. Now I consider myself in the army of God. And I'm telling you, as one of the forerunners, that is how it's done. That simple. Ask it, and you'll get it. Ask Him what your destiny is. If you don't get an answer, fast for 3 days. Do what it takes, because we're not near the end. We're at the end now. You will feel the changes in the squeeze any day. The economy's already squeezing you. The devil's going to have his squeeze, and we will lose. But we win the war. We're going to lose this battle because He does allow the devil to crush us.
Okay.
But we'll win the war. But there will be survivors, a remnant of survivors. And I myself is where I'm standing, and even though I'm privy, I pray every day that God finds me worthy, because I'm a wicked man just like anybody else. Only I ask for forgiveness. And don't ask Mother Mary, because she has nothing to do with it. Not a thing.
Okay.
Don't go and tell the Father to get you forgiveness, because it don't work that way. And the Catholics, and one last thing, what I was going to go on, I have great detail on the One World Order, what it is, and who they are, and when it's coming. I know exactly the script.
Okay.
I've been showed the whole script and was told to tell it, but we ran out of time.
Okay.
And that's another story. I would come back next week if you wanted me to.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll look into that. There might be a conflict there, but maybe the week after.
It don't matter whenever.
Okay.
But, it's got to be quick, because there's 3 parts to the story, and that's the end.
All right. Lieutenant Colonel Leslie, otherwise known as Greg Rinchick, appreciate you coming on the broadcast, and we'll have you back on again.
And thanks a lot, Daniel, and God bless everybody. And